Carlos is the exchange student that you have like a 3-week affair with.
Hey, we can see that you don't have pants on.
Somebody hit somebody with a pie. Do something.
Giovanni yelling we're out of time as we go off the air.
Giovanni yelling a lot of things tonight.
And welcome to the Mark It Down podcast.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Mark It Down podcast. My name is Nick Cummings, joined this week by James Jasanti. Back here once again to review another episode of AEW Dynamite. We are, 5 days? I can't do math. From Revolution. So I'm very excited for that card. 4 days. Still very excited for that card, even though I can't do math. So let's jump right into the top of the show. We came in quickly. We just had a very brief promo from MJF. He was out in the streets where he called what he did to Christopher Daniels last week light work, and then called out Hangman to come find him, saying if Hangman wants to shoot, he'll have a bullet for him. That was very brief, but it was funny. We then went into the ring for our first full segment, which saw the contract signing for Swerve Strickland versus Ricochet at Revolution in what became a number one contenders match for the AEW World Championship. Ricochet notably came out without the embassy robe, and Tony asked Ricochet, Tony Schiavone, his only appearance on the show this evening.
It's been happening a lot. Very little Schiavone lately.
I hope he's okay. Anyway, Schiavone asked Ricochet where the robe is, and Ricochet says not to worry. It's with the hands of some very good people who are making upgrades to it, which very much upset Prince Nana, and Swerve had to hold him back. Ricochet then pokes fun at Swerve's rough past during contract signings. I think notably it was the one against Samoa Joe, although he did sign that contract in his own blood, which was really cool. And he makes a crack by saying at least he's here and not out burning down Swerve's house. Ricochet then says Swerve's lucky he's even entertaining this rematch because it was Swerve that picked this fight and started making fun of him. But Ricochet still ended up beating him, and there's no reason for a winner to have to face Swerve off once again. But this match does get Ricochet one step closer to the AEW World Champion he should be, so he's now already looking ahead to people like Moxley, Copeland, and Christian if it comes to him. Swerve, who was so ticked off, and I thought it kind of worked, he couldn't speak properly, calls...
I noticed it too. I know. All right, thank you. I thought I was going crazy.
Yeah, it almost seemed like he was stumbling, but I think it worked better to show his absolute frustration with Ricochet. Anyway, Swerve calls Ricochet an entitled prick, saying he might have started this to expose Ricochet. It was Ricochet who stole the embassy robe and stabbed Swerve with a pair of scissors, escalating it to this point. But the biggest mistake Ricochet made was leaving Swerve breathing and awakening the most dangerous man in AEW. So Sunday, Swerve carves a path back to the AEW World Championship by putting Ricochet in the ground. And then there will only be two things for which Ricochet will be remembered. And they are Swerve briefly revitalizing his career, as this is now 2 weeks in a row. Henrietta is behind your thing. Actually, it's the same week. This happened on Saturday. Yes. Swerve briefly revitalizing Ricochet's career and his ring announcer wife.
First Samantha, is this the first Samantha Irving reference in AEW?
I believe so, yes. Swerve then signs the contract and gets up and goes to leave, but Ricochet stands and pulls out the scissors and sneaks up on Swerve to stab him. However, when Ricochet wheels Swerve around and swings, Swerve grabs Ricochet's wrist and pulls out a pair of scissors of his own, knocking the Eagles Super Bowl hat off of Ricochet's bald head and stabbing him there, leaving Ricochet bleeding before their match in the main events, where Swerve and Brody King teamed up against Ricochet and Kazuchika Okada, which we will get to later.
The irony that she knocked over The Rock right now.
You should have done that on Saturday. Come on, Kenny. But James, this was a good contract signing. It wasn't anything crazy. Ricochet bladed, I think, for the first time in a really long time.
Yeah, I think so too.
But this was fine, and I think the big thing that's going to come out of it is a Samantha Irving joke. But
yeah, I have been really uncomfortable. I don't know why, but I've been really uncomfortable with the use of scissors in professional wrestling. Like, I don't know. Like, I'm fine with thumbtacks. I'm fine with barbed wire. I'm fine with broken glass. But there's something about scissors being used that just feels so like taboo. And it just makes me very, very uncomfortable. That said, I enjoyed Swerve having his own set against Ricochet. It made sense. I was really worried coming out of this. You know me, big rule of the law of opposite momentum. Swerve coming out on top in this segment leads to Sunday, meaning Ricochet wins. I don't want Ricochet to win. Not because I don't like Ricochet. Like, I'm finally fully on board with Ricochet. I get this character. It works. He's a nerd. He's a loser. But, like, he's supposed to be. And it's great. He's delusional. And it's amazing. So all of that really does work for me. That said, I want Swerve to get his win back. And I want Swerve to be positioned back challenge for the championship. So I was worried coming out of this segment, but we'll talk more about the follow-up later, I imagine. But just a good way to start the show. I thought I was going crazy hearing Swerve's promo. I thought like my brain was just not working with how many like mistakes were being made. Like, am I just not hearing him right? But no, he was stumbling. But I agree with you. I think it sold the frustration of the character so well. I think it served the tension so well. This is a Swerve that I don't want to necessarily see as rattled, but at the same time, this is a Swerve who is so frustrated and is so that he's not necessarily fully clear. His mind isn't fully clear. So, yeah, good start to the show.
There's also a level of hatred in there too between Swerve and Ricochet. That Ricochet, I think Swerve always kind of didn't like Ricochet because he, as he said, he was trying to expose him for the fraud that he thought Ricochet was, and so he probably didn't like him to begin with. And then Ricochet went and turned it into the violent confrontation that we have gotten the last few times. So, there's a deep amount of hatred for Ricochet from Swerve, and I think that also lends to him tripping over his words, where he's so like he's almost trying to hold back,
yes,
in order to not curse and or kill Ricochet on TV. Because throughout Ricochet's promo, Swerve just kept going, "Sign the contract, Ricochet." Like, he knows the level of violence that he wants to inflict on this man.
Yeah.
And he's doing his best to save it for the pay-per-view because he doesn't want it to get canceled or take a fine or something like that.
Exactly. I do want to just point out one other thing that I really do love about what Swerve has been saying and doing in this feud. I love that he acknowledges that Ricochet should not be proud of himself for beating him because it was with a low blow.
Yep.
Oftentimes you'll see somebody say, "You got the best of me," you know, like you beat, like it was underhanded, but you beat me. I couldn't beat you. Swerve is just straight up saying, "This means nothing. You cheat." And I think that's a great touch. It feels very honest to the Swerve character that it's like, you needed to cheat to beat me. It means nothing. You are not better than me because you punched me in the nuts. So I thought that was great, and it's a great way of protecting Swerve while also pushing who this Ricochet is.
Yeah, and I like Swerve because even though he's a very violent man and the most dangerous man in AEW, as he likes to call himself, he still has a code.
Yes.
You know, there still is a code there. Yeah. And I don't want to say, at least for face Swerve, I don't know what heel Swerve's
like,
code
is the line... is the line baby intimidation?
Yeah,
that's the line. Like, anything past that's too far. But like threatening a child, that's right on the line of okay.
Yeah, it is weird. Like, I don't know where his line, like, yeah, I guess, bringing family into it, going to other people's houses and threatening and or attacking them. Because again, remember, he attacked Nick Wayne and Darby that one time. So there is that, but I think it's more of an in-ring thing where his code of honor is mostly in the ring, as we say hi to Maria. I think it's more there just because he wants to prove he's better than you, like straight up. He will do whatever he can psychologically to mess with you. And if it escalates in the ring in terms of stipulation matches, then so be it. But if it's straight up, he's just going to beat you. He hasn't cheated to win in a while, if ever, in AEW. Not that I can remember. So,
like, he'll fight dirty, but it's within the rules of whatever the match is.
Yeah, he does have like a weird code, and that makes sense for the character I always see him as, which is a rapper who's also kind of a gangbanger. There's always a code there.
The line gets a little blurry.
Yeah, I know, but there's always like a code there, and it's not a good one, and sometimes it gets blurred, as you can see, but there are ways to do things. There are people you leave out of stuff. So I do like that. It does help build up his character. I wanted to go back to say hi to Maria. She left a few more comments saying that this was an excellent go-home show, calling it the revenge of Swerve. And she still believes that Prince Nana is going to turn on him. I don't know. If he gets the robe back, we'll see.
Oh, man. Haven't seen this guy in a while.
Not bad. What's up, JL? Long time.
Hope you're doing well, JL.
He has an actual serious question for us. Do we think AEW is growing at all, James?
I think it depends on the question you're asking. If you're asking in terms of the company, clearly, I think the answer is yes. You have something like the announcement today that you could order AEW pay-per-views now on Amazon Prime. That's huge.
We'll get into that more in a second.
That is a very big new market. So I think in terms of outreach, yes, I think AEW is absolutely growing. Do I think they're growing in terms of product? Yes and no. I think it ebbs and flows like any company. I'd say this for everybody. I'd say this for WWE. I'd say this for TNA. I'd say this for anybody. They will often put out a great product, and then they'll stumble a little bit, and they don't necessarily know how to recover. But I would argue that for a lot of the TV production out there today, WWE is doing a lot right now. A lot right now. They have the entire world's attention because of this John Cena turn, but it was kind of a grind to get here when it came to stuff with The Rock. Like, a lot of people didn't enjoy the journey with The Rock. So I think in terms of AEW and an AEW only, I think they're absolutely getting a lot right. They've course corrected a lot of things. And this Sunday for Revolution is going to be a big indicator as to where we're moving. The Death Rider storyline was dead in the water for a long time, but it's really picked up momentum in this last month and a half, thanks to Cope and that rivalry. We have Kenny Omega back and delivering much anticipated matchups. We have the women absolutely killing it. Rev and I were talking. We wish we could have put Toni Storm and Mariah May as our headline and as our thumbnail, because personally, I think it was I think it was the best segment of the night.
It was. It absolutely was. And it was 2.5 minutes. Not even. I think it was like 2:23.
So to go back to your question, yes, I think AEW is growing. There have been growing pains, but overall, yes, the company is doing better today than it was doing last month. And it's doing better. It was doing better last month than it was the month before. So that's all you could really ask for, in my opinion. And James saying "Bing, Bing, Bing," he loves it. That is a Ricochet reference. It is a very old Ricochet reference, but thank you, James, for that fun comment.
Good poll. Just to follow up on you were saying, James, I agree with you. I think, at least, keep it a little bit shorter, AEW is riding a huge wave of momentum right now in terms of what's going on booking wise, because I think the show the last 2 months has been great.
Yes.
At worst, we have had a meh show, or at least episode of Dynamite that we've covered in the last 2 months, and I'm including Grand Slam Australia, because I still think that was one of the best episodes of TV I've ever watched. So they've been doing great there, as you mentioned, and we can go into it. They have announced that AEW has announced that pay-per-view is now available for purchase on Prime. You add that to the fact that they're streaming live on Max. They're filling in the backlog with a lot of the pay-per-views and stuff, and old episodes of Dynamite. AEW as a business is growing, and people are going to look at ratings threads or whatever. And I know this has actually become a topic on Square Circle, whether or not they should still have them. But the ratings aren't going to be reflective of the entire audience of AEW anymore, because a large swath of people, I think, are now just watching on HBO Max. So I think there is that. But James, did you have any more thoughts on the fact that you can buy the pay-per-views on Prime now, in terms of what you think it means for the company, real quick?
I think exposure of any kind is great. I think exposure opens you up to a new audience. Personally, I'm going to stick with Max in terms of ordering the pay-per-views and watching the content, just because it's easier for me. Like with me, I would like to keep everything together. I don't want to have my pay-per-views in one spot, the shows in another spot. Like WWE right now, if you're watching Raw, it's on Netflix. But if you're watching the pay-per-views, you're watching it on Peacock.
Yep.
So it becomes a little aggravating. So
it works great for me because I don't have Netflix, because I refuse to get a new login.
Fair enough. But it's one of those things that I enjoy. I'm proud of the fact that they are available in as many markets as possible. So if you want to watch it on Triller, watch it on Triller. If you want to watch it on Max, watch it on Max. If you want to watch it on Prime, watch it on Prime. There's no wrong answer. It's whatever is easiest for you. So that is something that I see AEW having a leg up right now on WWE, but that's going to change sooner than later. WWE is going to match that sooner than later, because I know they're leaving Peacock and they're going to be airing stuff, I think, on Netflix too.
Maybe. I think I read that contract comes up next year, but Peacock still wants to maintain the pay-per-view relationship, so they're going to try to push for that contract.
So we'll see. But again, the more exposure, the better. So good time for everything in terms of wrestling. No matter the company, we're seeing the market is huge, and that's fantastic. Going to the comments real. Oh, go ahead.
I was like, can you get the pay-per-views, like the live ones on HBO Max? I thought you couldn't buy them. I think you have.
I think you have to. You could buy them on Triller, but they're going to be on Max maybe a month or two later.
Yeah.
So just in terms of library, that's great.
Yeah. No, exactly. And Triller lets you keep them. Also, Triller has packages a lot for AEW pay-per-view. So I think right now you can get Revolution and Dynasty for like $80 or something, instead of having to pay the full $100. As we say hello to you, know it.
So it's a wrestling rant. It's not a WWE rant. It's a wrestling rant. So
we were just discussing that earlier. Comments about if AEW was growing, and a quick comparison to the competition.
Yeah.
But let's move things on. James, was there a women's segment after this? Because I might have missed it.
Was there a women's segment?
I don't know. Riccaboni said something later about Thunder Rosa getting revenge for earlier in the night. He might have just screwed up.
Yeah,
but
I don't rememmer there being a women's segment.
Okay, good. Because then after this, we went to our first match of the evening, which saw Will Ospreay, Powerhouse Hobbs, Mark Briscoe, and Orange Cassidy face off against Brian Keith, Mark Davis, and the Murder Machines of Lance Archer and Brian Cage. This was, typical 8-man tag insanity. It ended, with your usual long sequence of everybody taking everybody out, and then Briscoe finally clearing the ring by countering an Archer chair shot with a palm strike into his head, which is really cool, and then launching himself off the chair to take out Cage and Archer on the outside. Back in the ring, Brian Keith got double underhooks on Ospreay, but Ospreay counted out at it, hit an Oz cutter, and then followed up with a hidden blade for the win. After the match, Mark Davis immediately put Ospreay into a rear naked choke, while Archer and Cage took out Briscoe and Cassidy before tipping the steps over and choke slamming Hobbs onto them. Ospreay then passed out, and Kyle Fletcher made his entrance. And with Davis looking distraught in the corner, Fletcher starts beating down Ospreay until Davis pulls Fletcher off of him as Fletcher was delivering unprotected shots to the back of Ospreay's head and neck. Fletcher then berates Davis and hands him the chair, forcing him to wrap it around Ospreay's back before Davis rolls out of the ring and starts to head up the ramp. And then he turns around and looks on as Fletcher hits Ospreay with a brainbuster through the chair before posing over him. So, James, match-wise, like I said, this was a chaotic 8-man tag. It's exactly what I expected. I liked early in the match, there was a sequence of Brian Cage getting caught in the corner, and Briscoe, Ospreay, and Hobbs all got on the ropes and delivered the 10 punches. And then Orange got lifted into the ring by Hobbs, and then Orange jumped up there and hit one to much applause, which was great. And then Hobbs, I thought, looked great. He had an awesome sequence, a meat sequence, where he got the hot tag and went one-on-one with Davis before throwing Davis out of the ring, and he took on Cage and Archer. And then he ended up beating both of those guys and throwing Ospreay and Briscoe into Davis, who was in the corner for splashes, before splashing Davis himself with Orange on his back.
Loved it. Loved it. I'd say so. I'd say almost every member of this match had a real moment to shine. I'd say arguably Archer was the only one who didn't really have a big moment. But I think so many people looked good coming out of this match. Brian Cage looked fantastic. He had some great, great spots, both in the beginning and near the end. Brian Keith looked really good. Mark Davis, this is his story right now. A lot of this is his story. Ospreay is Ospreay. Orange, man, it has just been a pleasure to have him back.
It really is.
It really just has been a pleasure. I am loving this Hobbs-assance.
I'll take it.
Okay. It works. And Mark Briscoe even had a couple of moments to shine. So I really, 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 you're right. This was one of those typical chaotic multi-man matches, but I will go out and say that I think this one worked very well. I really enjoyed this one. My favorite spot of the match, it was so understated, but I love the heels passing Orange around for the suplex.
Yeah.
That they go from one shoulder to one shoulder to one shoulder before dropping him. I thought that was great. One, good on Orange. His core strength has to be fantastic. And two, just impressive from the bad guys. So great segment, great bit in that matchup. I was so frustrated with the post-match, though. I was so frustrated with the post-match. I didn't mind the heels dominating them afterwards. It felt genuine. It felt great. Maria saying it was lots of fun. And Spike Dudley Cassidy. Yeah. Yeah. Pretty on point, Maria.
Honestly, the odds of somebody mentioning Spike Dudley and it not being were astronomical.
What a world we live in. But I really don't mind the bad guys coming out on top. It made sense to me. It worked with what they were doing. I am really tired of the conflicted Mark Davis stuff. It's not doing him any favors. It's not. They're not building any sympathy for him with the crowd. So commit to him being a bad guy. Commit to it. And he's contradicting himself in every segment. As soon as the match was over, nobody told him to attack Will and put him in the choke. As soon as...
I imagine it was the plan from beforehand. That's what they were selling on commentary.
And that's fine, but he did not hesitate. He ran in for that choke as soon as the match was over. So even, sure, if I can accept the concept of this was the plan, or maybe Don was yelling it off screen, sure, I can accept those things. I should see them. And if you're going to show me how conflicted you are later about doing what you're doing, don't rush to hit that move without any hesitation or without any remorse. He locked him in that chokehold the majority of the beatdown afterwards. So I'm not super crazy about this. I hope they turn it around because right now he just kind of looks like a punk. Like Kyle Fletcher put him in his place.
Yeah.
So it is what it is.
Maria agrees. I don't know. I'm kind of enjoying it. It's still new, and I think I'm a little more lenient than you are a lot of times. Maria's saying that they just got to commit, and I guess
I agree. We talked about this before the heel turn, quote unquote heel turn.
Yeah, what's he gonna do that he's back?
From the moment he came back, we predicted that it was going to be very hard to find a satisfying story for him, and I think we nailed it. This has been pretty rough in my opinion. I like Davis. He has wowed me. Like, he has impressed me with his ring work. He has impressed me with a good amount of what he's doing now that he's back. I'm just not a fan of how he's being presented in this story.
Yeah, I guess he's a very broken man, I would think,
Yes.
is what he is right now. And there's a lot there to work with if you look at it. Like, he got hurt. He was out for a really long time. His tag partner blew up into this superstar.
Yes.
Turned on one of his best friends.
Yes.
And he comes back and he's kind of just left in this, nothingness. And him being broken would make a lot of sense. And then being forced to join Don because of the contract that Fletcher signed.
Which still doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. I feel like there was a better way to present and do this, so I guess I agree with you there. But I like the story they're trying to tell. They're just not doing a great job of it. And I like that Fletcher did punk him out because Excalibur, I thought, did a good job.
Too.
I thought Excalibur did a great job of saying, like, oh, when they were still, when they were the Open, Davis was always the guy who kind of took the reins because he was older and he was the veteran, and now Fletcher's the one who is, running the show here and literally having to slap Davis in the face to get him to do something. So
there are so many pieces to this puzzle that could help build a great picture, but I feel like they're just not being fit in the right places.
Yeah.
So I hope they could turn it around. I'm interested in Sunday if Davis, I'm sure he's going to play a part in the finish or at the very least in the matchup. So I hope, but this is the rough part of this because Ospreay versus Fletcher, this story has been great. The matches have been great. So I want them to nail it. And I think that this is the only real stumble in my opinion. And it's not even a huge stumble. It's not, but it is a vexing stumble.
Yeah, the story's there. It's just a little janky at the moment.
Yeah. Yes. Janky.
But let's move on. After this, we had a video package for Kenny Omega and Konosuke Takeshita. They're facing off, obviously, for the International Championship on Sunday. And James, I was only going to stay on this because of your lower third, that this is the second Dynamite in a row without any live Kenny. So I figured I'd let you comment on how you feel about this match going into it on Sunday.
I'm very excited for this matchup. One, as a Kenny Omega fan, and two, as a fan of good wrestling, and three, with the rumors going on about what we're building to post this matchup, I'm very excited. I don't know if you've heard them.
The possible unifying of the international and continental titles at All In.
I don't know how I feel about it. I liked it. It's going to sound silly. I like that AEW has a secondary title that isn't specifically the Intercontinental title.
Yeah.
And I feel like we've been skating that very well. But I do agree. Like, can you tell me the last important thing the TNT Championship did or was a part of?
Like, we Garcia fought Cole for it last Saturday.
Would you say it's important?
Not nearly as important as it was.
And I love Danny. I love Danny Garcia. I think he's great. But the title is an afterthought, in my opinion. Of the three mid-card titles, to me, it is the least valuable at this moment.
Which is crazy considering its lineage and stuff.
Yes. If you had to say to me, what title would I like to have in AEW right now that isn't the world title, it would be the international title or the continental title. It would not be the TNT title. So I do think you eliminate a big problem by unifying those titles. And if they do unify it more than anything, if Kenny wins and he beats Takeshita, we are getting closer and closer to Kenny Omega versus Kazuchika Okada in AEW. A match that I give you my word, people, I will travel anywhere in this country to watch.
Well, good news. It's probably going to be in Texas.
Oh, yeah.
Which, honestly, traveling there is a dangerous game. So I will say this, though. Hey, if Takeshita does retain, I'm also more than all the way here for Takeshita versus Okada.
See, that's the other thing, too. If Kenny loses, it opens him up to go to the world title. So, you know what? Fuck it. Kenny, AEW belt collector Kenny, let him win all of the titles in AEW. Let my dreams be real. Let my dreams come true. Kenny Omega, AEW World Champion. Kenny Omega, TNT Champion. Kenny Omega, International Champion. Kenny Omega, Continental Champion. Let it happen. And we'll be generous. Let him win a trios title, maybe the tag title. Hell, let him win the TBS title from Mercedes. It would be a good matchup.
It would be a great match, and I feel like right now he might be the only one who could beat her for it. You know what? Asking what's more important, the 24/7 title or the TNT Championship? The TNT Championship is still a thing, so probably that one. And then also, you had to say the magic word, and friggin' Eric appeared.
Broken clocks are right twice a day. And in this instance, yes, I think unifying the titles would be a great idea.
I would still like them to call it the International Championship, though.
I'm conflicted because I agree with you. I don't want it to turn into the Intercontinental Championship, but I don't want to lose the Continental Classic.
You can still call it the Continental Classic and you get a shot at the international title.
But... it doesn't work. It doesn't work. It's either got to be, either it becomes just the Continental title and you lose the international title, or it becomes the Intercontinental title and it becomes the Intercontinental Classic.
I just think the international title has also built up a lot of clout overseas. And
I agree.
Totally new one with the same lineage might get a little confusing, you know?
I agree. No matter what, I'm into where we're going.
Yeah. And also, they might not unify them. That was just, they're bandying it about at the moment. So who knows? I think I'm good either way. But I'm fairly certain we're going to get Kenny Okada at All In either way. Yeah. Because they teased it when Kenny came back.
Yes.
So that seems like it's going to be the play.
I'll also say if you do unify those titles, you open the door to introducing the women's tag titles because you got to fill the void. So overall, this is a net positive as far as I'm concerned.
Hey, we had a women's tag match tonight. It was pretty good. So
that it was.
We've also had some great women's tag matches throughout the years. And
1,000%.
Yeah.
1,000%.
Yeah, give them titles. All right. Moving on after this, our next match saw Adam Copeland face off against Wheeler Yuta as Copeland was trying to take out the last member of the Death Riders that wasn't Jon Moxley. Yuta got a pretty cool entrance. The theater they were in Sacramento, you know what, making a good point. The theater they were in Sacramento was like an actual ballroom theater, so there wasn't a lot of, it was just like the lobby and you went right in, and it ended up being making for a pretty cool entrance for Yuta as he started from outside. Anyway, to get to the end of this match, after hitting an impaler, Copeland lined up a spear, but Yuta instead hit him with a Busaiku knee, and that knocked Copeland out of the ring. Yuta got Copeland back in the ring and covered him, but when Copeland kicked, he quickly transitioned into the cattle mutilation, and then eventually Copeland was able to break out of the hold, and the two men were down. Eventually, they both got to their feet. They charged at each other. Copeland sidestepped Yuta and seemingly sent him out of the ring, but Yuta did the thing where he grabbed the bottom rope and pulled himself back in. And unfortunately, he pulled himself right back into a Copeland spear. And
it was a good spot. A great finish. Great finish.
I liked it a lot. And Copeland pinned him for the win. After the match, Copeland grabbed a microphone, and everyone kind of assumed this was the part where Copeland was going to kill Yuta. But instead, as Yuta got to his feet, Copeland shook his hand and said, "This is what respect feels like," before leaving. And as he left, Moxley came out and started to berate Yuta, which led to Wheeler eventually mushing Moxley in the face and walking out. Now, we'll get to what happens. we'll get to what happened after that in a second, James. But I liked this match. I thought it told a really good story, and commentary was very surprised at how it started in the beginning, with Riccaboni even kind of liking it to a Ring of Honor Pure Rules match, because it was just straight up like wrestling. And, Copeland was trying to out wrestle Yuta. Yep. And eventually, it left the ring like very briefly. But for the most part, this kind of did feel like a pure match. And it was just a straight up wrestling match, which allowed Copeland to, beat Wheeler and then be like, you did well, and shake his hand. Yep. And give him the respect he thinks Wheeler deserves. So great bit of storytelling here. And maybe it wasn't the flashiest match, but it was just a really good wrestling match.
It was a really solid matchup. I enjoyed it for what it was. It's not going to be like spade a spade, respect due, because it was enjoyable. It's not really a match that I'm going to be thinking too much about later on. It's the post match that I think is obviously the real highlight and the real story developer. But I think both men really handled themselves well. Yuta just looks so much more natural in the ring. He's developed so well. Like, he never looked bad in the ring, even when he was really, really a rookie in AEW. But he feels like he belongs in these matchups now in a way that he didn't before.
It's amazing what happens when you hang out with Bryan Danielson for a year.
Craziness. That said, I don't know if I'm overthinking it. Speaking of the post match, I think we just got hit with a big old swerve.
Not till later in the show.
I think Adam Copeland's respect and, to a degree, mercy is going to be his undoing on Sunday. I feel it. The way The Rock feels his goosebumps. I feel it that Yuta is going to cost Cope the match.
All right, well, let's get into what happened after real quick. So after Yuta mushed Moxley and went backstage, Moxley followed him and started yelling at Wheeler to keep walking, and Yuta's like, all right, I will keep walking. So he leaves. So Moxley commandeers the camera guy who's following him and tells Copeland that he's won. He'll be all alone at Revolution, and Copeland has succeeded in getting him distracted. But the guardrails were there for Copeland's safety, and now they're gone. So he's going to beat Copeland's ass because he deserves it. He mocks Copeland for showing respect with a handshake, saying there isn't any respect in this business, and somehow he's the only one who sees this, saying you can only get respect one way in wrestling, and that is being willing to pull the trigger. Copeland's pulled the trigger on him 3 times, but on Sunday, Moxley says he will only need to pull the trigger once. So I thought it was a good promo for Moxley. It was quick, but it was really good. And I do like the fact that Mox is actually seriously rattled.
Yes.
As he has lost 3 of his guys, and now a 4th one is seemingly leaving him as he is realizing that he's basically just been Stockholm syndrome into beating up people. Yeah. But James, you don't think that's the case? You think Wheeler is going to be the cause of Copeland's downfall?
I really do. I think the Stockholm syndrome is real. I think he's very frustrated, but I think he's also still very broken. And I'm not saying what I'm saying is, oh, this is happening, but it's just where I feel like it's going. And Cope made a promise that he was going to take out every member of the Death Riders. What happened?
Oh, no, I had a funny idea.
Yeah. Well, you're going to have to share in a second. Cope said that he was going to take out every member of the Death Riders, and he didn't. He chose to spare Yuta. And I think that's going to be costly. I just do. I think he's going to regret it. So and Yuta's going to graduate from being the whipping boy to being like a full-fledged member of the team, of the unit.
So not forever the young boy, as I was asking.
That's the point. You know it. You're getting what I'm putting out there. So we'll see. We'll see. I think no matter what, Sunday's match is going to have a lot of nonsense, a lot of tomfoolery, a lot of fuckery.
Oh, shenanigans.
So yes, I think there will be quite the shenanigan.
Yeah, I could see it being a bit of an overbooked mess, and it could be fun. But There is the whole thing we were discussing last week about maybe Jay White stealing the contract and cashing in.
I didn't want to talk about it until we actually got to him a little bit later. But yes, I think that is more and more a reality with every segment.
Yeah, because I'm curious just to see who you would cash it in on, because I guess under your theory, Wheeler would help Moxley, and then Moxley would still retain his title, and then Christian, but then Jay White would cash in. The thing I laughed about was, Wheeler's been going through a rough time. He could really use a father right now.
Convenient. Really convenient.
Maybe that's what happens, and that's how Christian gets the title, or at least almost gets the title. But
it all comes back to Christian, man.
It would be really funny. Yeah, there's a lot of moving parts in this match now.
And it's why Revolution's main event is so exciting to me. You have Christian, you have Jay White, you have Yuta, you have, just because the Death Riders were hit and they're down doesn't mean that they're out. They could very easily surprise us with a return on Sunday. You have so much at play, and it's the mystery is what's making this matchup. So yeah. Well done. In my opinion, the Death Rider story has never been more enjoyable than where it is now. Maybe in the very, very beginning, but we are at a real high right now.
Yeah, definitely a downward sloping parabola there. But
yes.
Because it's saying he's been ready for the Death Riders end, so Pat Claudio and Moxley can get back to being themselves. And I feel like they've been the heel versions of themselves to a much better extent than they had been previously in the last month or so with this Copeland stuff. So I've actually been enjoying them so much, I wouldn't hate them continuing.
Me neither.
Whether or not that's with Moxley having the title, I don't know. And we also got to remember that they do still have the trios title, and one of those people holding those titles is really Yuta. So there's also that to consider as well. There is
a very loud theory going around online right now that the moment Mox loses the title, the Death Riders are going to turn on him. And I could see that. I could see them turning on Mox, and then it just maybe being Claudio's group. But who knows?
Maybe.
Who knows for sure.
Yeah. So a lot of moving parts. And like you said, James, it's one of the reasons I'm very excited for that match on Sunday.
Yes.
After that, we got what was kind of like a music video for the Outrunners. Yeah, it was one of their classic 80s promos, and it was great. Real Saturday Night Main Event shit.
Gotta love a good vignette.
Yep. And then we came back to a interview backstage with MJF. So he's still outside in the alley waiting for Hangman. So Renee went out there to ask him what the plan is. And MJF says that he knew Hangman would never show up because he is a yellow, gutless coward. And on Sunday, Max is going to prove he is the main character of AEW. And then Hangman's car comes barreling down the street. So MJF and Renee run. And MJF just takes off back into the building. So Hangman hops out of the car and follows him. And then he attacks who he thinks is Max from behind and drags him down onto the entrance ramp, throwing him into the barricade. But it is then revealed that it's an MJF lookalike who's screaming that Max made him do it. MJF then attacked Hangman from behind and brought him to the ring and attempted a heat seeker. Hangman countered and threw MJF forward into the center of the ring, where MJF pretended to kind of tweak his ankle. But when Page went for buckshot lariat, MJF just kicked him in the dick, which was very good timing, I might add.
Very smooth.
MJF then hit a heat seeker, and after fending off some security, because they didn't have a lot, as Excalibur said, a lot of them were dealing with the Moxley stuff going on in the back. MJF goes to hit Hangman with the Dynamite Diamond Ring. However, Hangman double legs him, gets a few shots in, but then MJF eventually gets him with the ring and puts Hangman down. MJF then grabs a mic and says that since the people love when their precious cowboy burns things, let's see how they react when he does it. And he goes underneath the ring and grabs a can of lighter fluid, emptying it onto Hangman before pulling out a lighter. The referee corps and security, who are finally done taking care of Moxley, eventually spill out into the ring, and they drag MJF away, kicking and screaming as he yells at them to let him prove his point. So I like this. Well, first of all, there was a threat of somebody being lit on fire, so that was awesome. But I enjoyed this, and I think the most intriguing thing, besides somebody almost getting lit on fire, was Hangman actually trying to hit MJF with his car, which he said he was going to do last week. But he also said if MJF doesn't let Hangman hit him, MJF is going to live to regret it. Which means I think he's going to I think he might win on Sunday, but he's going to get the ass beating of a lifetime.
Yeah, no, this has been the most consistent storyline in AEW for a little while now. It's been great, and they keep surprising us. So just tonight, I found myself asking, we're just lighting people on fire now? Like, this is just what we do? This is where we've gone? But realistically...
We've done it before. Jack Perry got lit on fire.
It's true. But it feels natural how we got here. It feels extreme, but it feels natural. It doesn't feel like things escalated so fast, or too fast, I should say. These two guys both have huge chips on their shoulders right now. And they have been in each other's orbit since day one of AEW, essentially. So I'm really into the feud. I thought tonight was great. There was a split second where I was like, oh wow, this is gonna happen. Like the Hangman's gonna be on fire. When security tackled him and MJF's lighter hit the mat, I was like, he definitely he hit the mat with that fucking lighter fluid. This could easily start. But thankfully everyone's okay. We did not need the fire department on call. But I think outside of Kenny and Takeshita, this is the match I'm most excited for Sunday.
Yeah, I'm really hyped about this one. And I thought I liked MJF's motivation in this. Him screaming, let me prove my point. Because, and I forgot to reveal, he wore a shirt that said MJF was right.
No, MJF did nothing wrong.
Oh, yeah, MJF did nothing wrong. Yeah. And he has a point. Because either way, he was right in this situation. If he lights Hangman on fire and the people boo, he's right that they're hypocrites.
Yes.
Because they cheered Hangman when he lit Swerve's house on fire and burned it down, but now they're booing him for lighting something on fire. And if they cheer him, he's also right that these people are just sick fucks.
Yes.
And don't care about any.
We're not looking good no matter how you paint it. But...
Yeah. So I think it was really, it's really like almost introspective of MJF, and it's why it's making this feud so good, because it's really holding a mirror up to the fans and being like, this is how you boo and cheer, and it's almost arbitrary. Depending on who the person is.
The problem is the average fan does not give a shit. We know what we are. We know what we like. We don't care. We are unapologetic.
But that's what makes it good, because MJF did nothing wrong. No, yeah, I know. That's why like MJF was better, but I do like that he's going off the stuff from like Square Circle, where it's like, oh yeah, this person did nothing wrong. I know you put it up for a second. But from what's the worst job, fast food drive-through or AEW security? Depends on the neighborhood of the drive-through.
Yeah, no, I'd agree. I'd also
which one gets respected more? I think drive-through. Again, we also, I don't know about you, James, but I've picked up drive-through in neighborhoods that has bulletproof glass.
Yes,
so
I absolutely have. But I also will say, as a regular for certain drive-through locations, they're lovely people.
Yep, usually.
Lovely people. As opposed to security for AEW, sometimes. A
little overzealous.
They sleep on the job a little bit.
Yep.
And I wonder, I was so happy. I was like, wow, their response time tonight was great. Other evenings, it'll be, wow, this guy's dead.
Well, it was a little
out after, but yeah, he's dead now.
It was a little slow in this segment because they were dealing with Moxley. I did like there was that little bit of information to make it like, why are they just going to let him light Hangman on fire? Well, they're dealing with Moxley going berserk in the back.
Like my dog is going berserk right
I was going to make that joke, and I just didn't process the joke.
My bad.
It's all right. Let's move things along here. After this, we came back from commercial, and Excalibur said they were going to refuse to show the video of MJF trying to light Hangman on fire, saying that they don't condone those actions here on AEW, which I thought was great.
I love when they do that. They do that for really sadistic stuff. Like when they were suffocating Brian with the plastic bag, they never showed the footage afterwards. Yep. So it's like, it really does paint a picture of how insane and intense this stuff is.
Yeah.
You know, as wrestling fans, it's just another Wednesday for us. But in reality, a normal human being sees this and it's like, that's fucking bonkers.
Yeah, it was I like that a lot. It's a nice touch when they do stuff like that. Anyway, Excalibur then threw it to Renee, who was backstage with the writer for Queen of the Ring, whose name was Ash something. I forgot and I didn't catch it. So my bad.
Writer-director.
Can you Google it for me so I can properly give him credit? Because he did a quick promo for the movie, and then Toni Storm came over to promote the film, as she is in it as well. Although she was lamenting the fact that her lengthy nude scene had been cut from the film.
Her gratuitous.
Yes. And then the writer-director, again, Ash something, who changed his voice to match Tony's, by the way.
Beautiful.
What a theater kid. He's like, darling, it's PG-13. We want the whole family to be able to see it. But that scene will live forever in my private collection. And
on my hard drive.
Yeah, in his estate or whatever it is.
Bravo. Honestly, hilarious. Hilarious.
Lexi asked Toni about her upcoming sit-down interview with Renee and Mariah May. And Toni suggests that this guy Ash doesn't watch it. I think she said it might get violence. And then, she did the, oh my God, chin up, tits out, and watch Queen of the Ring. And then she's like, and then you hit the pose, and the guy posed like with her.
Yep.
So shouts to Ash. Did you find it, or can you not Google fast enough?
Hold on, it's hard with one hand.
All right, I'll do it because I'm quicker than you.
Thank you.
The Queen of the Ring.
While you're looking that up, let me
just... Ash Advilson.
There you go.
Shouts to him for like super duper playing wrong with Mariah. He was great. Bravo.
Quick shameless plug. Our very own Matt Cascone here on the pod attended the premiere yesterday for Queen of the Ring in Manhattan. He got to meet a bunch of the AEW women. He got to meet some
WWE ones as well. I think he put up a picture with Trish and Lita.
And Naomi.
I missed that one. I saw the Trish and Lita one.
Yeah, so very exciting, very fun bit to say. And he tried getting me. I'm gonna call him out here live on the pod. He sent me a picture of him and Deonna Purrazzo, and then he was like, "Sorry." And then I sent him a picture of me and Deonna from like a year ago. So virtuosa, all right. You cannot get me when it comes to the virtuosa. But all right, let's go.
Yeah. Now, honestly, for shameless self-promotion, this was a pretty good shameless self-promotion.
Yeah.
Both from Toni Storm and Ash, and from James there. After this, we went to our women's tag match. We saw Kris Statlander and Thunder Rosa face off against Megan Bayne and Penelope Ford in a bit of a grudge match, as Ford and Bayne have been thorns in the side of Stat and Thunder. In answer to preemptively answering our question, no, they didn't address the awkward chair thing. They're not going to address it. Leave it alone. Anyway, to jump to the end of this match, after Thunder hit a drop kick to the outside on Bayne, Statlander went up to the top rope to assume hit a moonsault or something, but Ford knocked her off, and that just effectively took Stat out of the match. Thunder then ended up in a 2-on-1 situation, and she looked pretty well for a while, but eventually she hit the ropes and went at Ford, who ducked, and that forced Thunder right into Bayne, who picked her up and hit the Fate's Desire, which was we were calling that finisher, to pick up the win. So, James, this was good. Another match that I wish didn't have a commercial in the middle of it. But I thought Statlander and Thunder had really good chemistry as tag partners. Yeah. And I kind of like the story that they had better chemistry than Bayne and Ford did, because there was a lot of miscommunication between those two women. But eventually it was Ford being sneaky And kind of similar to the other week when she pushed that off the top, once again pushing Kris off the top turnbuckle and leading to another victory that Bayne ends up picking up. So good storytelling, good wrestling from these women, and just a solid match from them.
Yeah, no, I'd agree. It's weird because unfortunately with AEW, what?
I was just laughing at it being a child. Also, I like he wrote the last like Team Rocket in Gen 1.
It is a shame that unfortunately in AEW, if you're a woman and you're not going for a title, it is really hard to get TV time. It's not impossible. We've seen it. It does happen, but you're not featured the same way if you're not actively going for a title, if you're one of the women. So stars like Thunder Rosa, stars like Kris Statlander, they're constantly fighting for time when they're not going for the title. And Thunder hasn't gone for the title in God knows how long.
Since her match with Mariah.
So
the Tijuana death match or whatever it was.
So and before that, how long did it take?
Yeah, she was she was hurt, and then she was on Collision, and then she was doing nothing.
So yeah, I'm glad that there is a story here that's at play. Megan Bayne is doing great, in my opinion. Penelope Ford is a good foil for her, and you can tell there's not necessarily a lot of love there. Like Bayne threw Ford out of the ring onto the other women.
Yeah, no, she used her as a weapon, but yeah,
for sure. But like, that was Bayne doing what she needed to win, So I'm all for this. I'm really hoping this feud continues to grow a little bit more. What's the match on Sunday? Is it Bayne versus Stat again, or is it Bayne versus Thunder 1-on-1?
I think whatever it is on 0 Hour, right?
Yeah.
Let me look that up real quick. Revolution 2025. Hopefully they've added it to the wiki. It's not listed on Wikipedia yet. Let me check. I will say they have the Big Boom AJ one on there. Jesus. Actually, I'm not that mad that's happening.
Yeah, I was gonna say, don't hate.
Nah, they don't have it on the regular site either. So I don't know exactly what it is. Maybe somebody can help us in the comments. We'll see.
Maybe I made it up. Maybe it's not actually happening.
Yeah, I didn't think they had announced anything yet.
So, but yeah, I'm all for this. I love. I'm getting my big meaty women slapping each other's meat. It's good. I'm not complaining. But yeah, I also just really like. It's an F5, right? That Bayne.
Yeah, basically what it is. Yeah,
and it looks good. It looks good on smaller opponents, and it looks good on bigger opponents because I'm pretty sure she nailed it on Stat too.
She did.
Yeah, so she's killing it right now. I'm very intrigued to see on a personal level for us. I have a feeling she's dropping that that HOG title very soon.
Yeah, which would be unfortunate, but because I like seeing her at House of Glory. But yeah, I was thinking about that. I was like, is she going to retain? I was like, she could, but she has probably a lot more dates now than she did before she was working with AEW. But AEW is cool about them going to indies, so
yeah,
who knows? Yeah. No, but I do like the dynamic, as you were saying, between her and Penelope, because it's kind of cool that like Penelope is kind of like a shit heel where like she's sneaking up behind people and pushing them off the top or whatever. Chicken shit, that's what I was looking for. And at least in her matches involving Bayne, whereas Bayne's just like, fuck you, I'm taking you out.
Yeah, no, exactly. It's a good henchman boss relationship.
Yeah, but despite the fact that the boss doesn't want nor need a henchman.
Yeah.
So
I mean, she is the Megasis. There is a level of like mythology behind that character, so it makes sense that she has followers.
Yeah, so I do like the dynamic between them. We'll see if they continue it, or it ends after this. But I like it, and I've liked what they've done with Bayne so far. They make her look really strong, and I mean, Riccaboni at one point was like, she's not even down on both knees yet. She hasn't been off her feet. Meanwhile, she's literally kneeling in front of him. But like they're doing their best to put her over on commentary. to make her seem like this all-powerful wrestler. And they've done a great job so far presenting her in AEW.
No, I agree.
All right, let's keep it rolling. After this, we went backstage with Mercedes Moné. This was fun. It was basically just Mercedes hyping up her match with Momo Watanabe for the TBS Championship at Revolution. Mercedes says she beat her once, so she could do it again. And then Momo has a match on Collision, which is, wow, I guess they're probably pre-taping Collision. But Mercedes says she's going to be there to watch Serena Deeb take Momo apart. But the reason why this was funny is because Mercedes kept trying to have Renee do her catchphrases for her. And then Renee flubbed one at the end because she did the wrong way. And Mercedes got really mad at her. So I like that. I thought it was pretty funny.
Yeah, I agree.
I almost called it cute, but I hate calling things cute. So
cute's nice. That's it's an underrated compliment.
Yeah, I guess this was kind of cute, but my mom used to call everything cute when I was growing up, and it drove me insane. So I don't have like disdain for that word, but I try not to use it in situations it's not warranted.
Fair enough.
Like we'd go watch a movie and a bunch of people would die, and she'd get on the phone with her friends like, "Oh yeah, it was a cute movie." And I'm like, like, do you know how many people just died?
That's totally cute. Your mom, she gets it.
Insane.
She gets it.
After this, we had what Excalibur said was a standby match, which I thought was pretty funny. I do like in kayfabe, like Caster was not supposed to have his open challenge, but Caster had his open challenge, and he came out there, talked some shit, and he tried to get a terrible chant going before calling Sacramento. He said Sacktown's a bunch of ball bags. And, that was Kings. So my man Peja Stojakovic, that's whose jersey this is. Anyway, Caster then, lays out his open challenge and is answered by one Switchblade Jay White. So Caster freaks out and the bell rings, and then Caster tries to get his chant going, and White's not really paying attention. So Caster tries to attack him, but the King Switch catches him with a Blade Runner, hits him, and picks up the win in like 10 seconds. After the match, White says that since Copeland joined his fight against the Death Riders, they've had each other's backs the entire time. So on Sunday, he'll be there to see in the next AEW World Champion, Cope. Now, there was a pause at the end there.
Yeah, right, there really was.
Which really makes me think about the punctuation because, I know James will get this, but I don't know if all of you will get it. This is a real Savitar situation. Is he saying I'm the future Flash, or is he saying I'm the future Flash?
That was so unfortunately good. I think he's telling us to cope because it's gonna happen. And I'll be honest, I don't have to cope. I'm here for it. Let him do it.
So okay, I wasn't even considering that he was like telling everybody to cope. That's what I was saying about the punctuation. Was he wrestling Copeland directly?
Yeah,
like,
no, I get it.
Saying with a comma, like to see the next AEW World Champion, Cope, like as he was addressing Adam Copeland, or was there was a colon saying it would be Copeland? So that, or was he just telling everybody to go? Yeah, this is real open ended there from King Switch. I like it. It adds another moving part to the millions we already have for that match. That match is like a freaking overly complicated Timex right now with all the parts it has. So
good reference.
I'm excited. That's 2 in this segment. I'm really excited for that match. And I think I'm most excited about Switchblade because if he's champ, I'm going to be really happy because I feel like he should have been a singles champ, if not the AEW's world champion, way before this.
Yeah, no, I agree.
So
timing's tough, man.
It really is. And there was the fact that he didn't think he was coming to AEW. Yeah. So, but hey, he's killing it there. He's been on a great run recently. And hopefully he can win the title. Even if he does turn heel, I'm going to cheer my head off.
I think I'd prefer it. I think I'd prefer it. He's great as a heel.
Yeah, I mean, I'm here for it just because, like, if Moxley keeps it, fine, but then we still got to do the Death Rider stuff, and I don't think it's going to get much better than this, depending on who comes next. If Copeland gets it, like, yay, like, he gets the title, he gets, his name's on the lineage, but I don't know if I want to see him with the AEW World Championship.
Okay.
Like, go do other things.
Lose it.
Win it, lose it immediately. That's what this contract is for.
Yeah.
And I feel similarly. I love Christian. I feel similarly. I would love Christian to win it. I don't need Christian as champion.
Yeah, exactly. Like, same thing. I feel, funny enough, with both, Edge and Christian, I feel the same exact way with the two of them. Their name is on the lineage. Great. I don't need them to be champ. Christian as champ would be fun, but I think he's way better running around with the TNT championship than he would be with the AEW World Championship.
Yeah.
And which leaves my man Switchblade Jay White. And that's what I'm hoping for.
All right. I got to mention something he did that I loved. It was amazing. So after the match, after the segment, after he's done and he's leaving, he goes out into the crowd and he interacts with a little kid.
Was it the one on the entrance ramp?
So there was two on the ramp, one on the left and then one on the right. The one on the left,
the blonde one.
Not important.
Okay.
The kid has he's got his shirt. Jay is holding his shirt. And he goes to the kid like this, do the guns.
Oh yeah, the guns up.
The kid didn't do it. So he left that kid and went to another kid. He did it, and he gave that kid the shirt. I cannot begin to tell you how satisfying that was. That kid, I shouldn't. This is heel James. This is the result of a John Cena heel world. But I loved that little kid was too slow to the draw, and he got screwed out of the shirt. And
You gotta be quicker than that.
He gotta be. Oh my God, it was beautiful. It was beautiful. And whether intentional or not, it shows he's a heel. He just is.
At minimum, he's a narcissist.
Tomato.
Yeah, I was gonna say face or heel, he's a narcissist. I did want last note on this. Caster has the HBO Max logo on his pants, and I think it's great.
I do want to say it's so easy to focus on Jay. It really sucks that Bowens is getting all this TV time and Caster is getting all this TV time and Bowens just isn't.
Is he hurt?
I don't think so. I think this is to serve the storyline. But it sucks. We haven't gotten Billy Gunn, which, look, it is what it is. I love Billy, but, like, him not having TV time isn't breaking my heart. But Bowen's not getting TV time sucks.
Yeah, I honestly thought maybe he was hurt. It's not non-zero chance he comes back on Sunday. Like, maybe, I know the card's already packed, but maybe Caster, like, in a cool-down segment has an open challenge and Bowens returns. I could see that happening. Or maybe even on the on 0 Hour. Maybe it happens there, which I would suck being on 0 Hour, but I feel like they do shit like that all the time there. So it's possible he comes back on Sunday. But Caster getting his ass whooped every week has been really funny.
It has. It's been great. It's been great. I just feel like I do feel bad for Anthony.
Yeah. And again, his trunks are awesome.
Yes.
All right, let's move on to the best segment of the evening, which was the sit-down interview between Timeless Toni Storm and Mariah May, conducted by the incomparable Renee Paquette.
Now, before you get into it, I just want to say 1,000% agree. Best segment of the night. This is not an indictment on the rest of the night, which I thought was very, very good. I just think that's how great this segment was.
Yeah, no, this should be Emmy nominated. That's how good this was.
I agree.
So Renee begins the interview by welcoming both women and thanking them to no physicality. And as she's doing so, Mariah gets up and spits in Tony's face. And then Renee just curses, so they had to bleep it all out. And then Tony just deadpans, "It's nice to know you still care."
But like legit deadpan, guys. She does not react. She no-sells this.
Tony deadpanned this entire thing, which we'll go through in a second. But Renee asked Mariah what the hell is wrong with her. And Mariah, who the last few weeks has been full breakdown, especially like starting since Tony cosplayed as her in that match, leading up and through Mariah losing the title. Mariah's in full breakdown. Her hair is all over the place. Her makeup was done well, but like she looked like a wreck. And you could tell in her voice she was, as she starts basically crying, that it's all Tony's fault, saying Tony made her do this to someone she loves by starting all of this. Renee then says Mariah started all of it by coming into Tony's life. Mariah is the one. Mariah says she's the one who made it all work, and that Tony and that title are nothing without her. Mariah then asks Tony if she's proud of her being a sick bitch, because she's going to be the sickest bitch Tony's ever seen on Sunday, and the woman from hell is going to drag Tony down there with her because Tony knows that Mariah did it better. Mariah then turns and basically leans on Renee, who's very uncomfortable at this point. And as it isn't a trilogy with the greatest co-star, or her greatest co-star, isn't that what Tony has always wanted? Saying they can have the Hollywood ending they've always dreamed of. Tony, who still hasn't broken at all, comes back in a completely monotone and dead stare, saying that Mariah doesn't deserve the dignity of death, but instead sentences her to a lifetime of mediocrity, being good but never great, people liking her but never loving her, because the star Mariah is will never compare to the monster she's become. And eventually Mariah will be replaced and forgotten, and then one day someone will ask, whatever happened to Mariah May? And they'll respond that she found out what happens when you try to kill God. Mariah then gets up and launches her seat, which causes Tony to stand up, and Renee just jump because it scared the shit out of her. And the two women stare each other down, and Renee just goes, I pray neither of you get seriously hurt. And both of them respond in unison, pray for her. Bravissimo. Bravissimo. It was so good. This was so well acted. Tony was amazing. Just like not even caring anymore. Mariah cares so much that she is on the point of a nervous breakdown. James, oh my. We've said it like this is the match I want to see and I'm excited for everything. No, it's this. This has been the most consistent storyline in AEW.
Well, this has been the most consistent. Before, when I said that was the most consistent storyline, I'd say more recently, this has been all-encompassing for a year and a half, close to 2. Well, a year and a half. Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
I know that they don't get as much time as maybe he did, but Tony and Mariah have been the main characters of AEW the last year and a half.
1,000%. And they've earned it. I
just started to make myself sweat. That's how good it was.
The matches have been great. The segments have been great. The promos have been great. The character work has been great. What it's done for exposure for the division has been great. So much of this has been just next level. And speaking on it, it feels so bizarre. Yeah, this character who thinks she's from the 1940s is a 1940s starlet, has an issue with a woman that she kind of made her daughter, like her make-believe daughter, even though they're around the same age. And they've been fighting over supremacy and betrayal and weird sexual tension. It's there. It's there. Like, this is not a bonk moment. It just is. You say all of those words and you sound like a crazy person. But when you watch it, it's so captivating. There's been a lot said, a lot that I disagree with, but there's been a lot said about, oh, if you go to AEW, you can't become a star. Your stock lowers the moment you go to AEW. Mariah May has transformed herself into a superstar, and it is because of her time in AEW. From the moment she walked in to now, it's hard to fathom somebody rising as fast as she did and as powerfully as she did. And Tony is just, she has cemented herself as one of the best women of the modern era of wrestling, or just one of the best women in professional wrestling, period. So I cannot wait. I've seen a lot of people argue, and I get it. I've seen a lot of people argue this should be the main event of the pay-per-view. I get why it's not. Unfortunately, and I'm thankful that they got to main event Grand Slam in Australia. But this is just as deserving of being the main event Revolution, in my opinion.
I think so too, but there's no way it will be because fucking Tony Khan gave them 2 minutes and 23 seconds, I think. And this is the greatest 2 minutes and 23 seconds I've ever seen in wrestling. So,
Bold statement.
At least acting wise, it is. Like, this was unbelievable. Also, Tony will never be the greatest woman ever until she beats Wendy Richter, but she has to do it. But I can't say enough good things about this, and I don't have the time to. But I'm literally like at a loss for words for how good this was, how good this all has been. And considering I'm guessing this is the last segment they're going to have together for a very long time, what a way to go out. I think this match is going to be an absolute banger. I don't know who's going to win. I kind of presume Tony is.
I do too, but it's not a safe bet.
No, it's not. Like, just wow. That's like wow. These two are perfect together, and I don't know whose idea it was to put them together. I don't know if it was Tony Khan's or Tony Storm's, or RJ City's, whoever it was. And again, and shout outs to RJ too. I know he's helped book a lot of this and write a lot of this, and he's been great. Renee has been great with the two of them as well. Taz has also been great with Tony Storm. So just, I think everyone has played their role so perfectly here, especially these two women. So I am looking forward to this match, I think, above everything else.
Yep. And
I'm a little disappointed that this is probably the end of the road, but what a road it was.
It's funny because we talk about moments and historic things in professional wrestling and things that, like, oh man, people are going to be talking about this years to come. Like, that's something that was thrown around a lot this last weekend with Cena. I truly think this is one of the all-time great women's wrestling storylines, and to have watched it in real time feels, as a wrestling fan, like a true privilege. So,
I agree.
Good job, AEW. Good job, Tony. Good job, Mariah May. You too, RJ.
All right, let's move on to the main event, which saw Swerve Strickland and Brody King face off against Ricochet, who looks to be doing all right from his head wound earlier tonight, and the Continental Champion, Kazuchika Okada. Now, Swerve obviously facing off against Ricochet on Sunday. Okada is facing King for the Continental Championship after Okada beat Buddy Murphy or Matthews or whatever at Grand Slam. And then Okada on Saturday on Collision was basically just messing with the Hounds of Hell the entire night before eventually coming out to attack Brody after he's checking on Julia, who had just been decapitated by Queen Aminata. I don't know if you saw that, James.
Yep.
Oh, it's literally called Off With Her Head. And good Lord, did she take Julia Hart's head off. So as Brody was checking on her post-match, Okada came in and attacked Brody with his championship. I'll jump to the and towards the end of this match. After a house called Ricochet, Swerve climbed up to the top rope and hit a Swerve stomp. But Okada, who was on the outside, snuck up there right after Swerve and hit an elbow drop to break up the pin. Brody then came into the ring, and the two of them duked it out with King countering a Rainmaker and sending Okada into the corner. And then King went for a cannonball, but Okada was able to roll to the outside in order to dodge that. And while he was out there, Okada went over and grabbed his title and came back in the ring to line up Brody. But Swerve eventually recovered, and he hit a massive house call onto Okada. Because Okada wasn't down very far. Yeah. Like, he was ducking, but Swerve got up for that one. That was some serious hops. Brody then took out Okada with a lariat, and the two went stumbling to the outside over the top rope. And then as the referee was distracted by those two men, Swerve turned around to turn his attention back on Ricochet, but Okada had dropped his championship right where Ricochet was. So Ricochet picked it up and hit Swerve over the head with it as the ref wasn't looking. Ricochet then fell into the pin and got the win over Swerve, headed into Revolution. So, James, as you mentioned before, law of opposite momentum. It went through in one night. So that slate's a little clean headed into Revolution. I kind of liked that we didn't get too much from Brody Okada in terms of anything final there. So we can see what happens with the two of them. And that's very ambiguous. But I do also like that if law of opposite momentum holds, it should really be theory of opposite momentum. If it holds and Swerve does win, I do like the fact that Ricochet does now hold 2 pinfall wins over Swerve. So it's still 2 on Ricochet, but presuming Swerve wins, I would imagine he would have the only clean win over Ricochet because as we discussed before, Swerve doesn't really count the win that Ricochet got, hitting him low, and I imagine he won't count this win as well. So I think it's a good bit of storytelling there.
I agree on that front. And it's all about protecting Swerve. It's all about establishing that, Ricochet can get the win, but he's not really at that level, I think the bigger thing is, to me personally, I don't care if Swerve cheats to beat Ricochet. In fact, I think it's sort of within his character to do so. I think the more important thing is the level of win. Okay, Ricochet got the first win and he cheated, whatever. He got this win in a tag team match by sort of lucking his way into it. Sure, whatever. Even if Swerve cheats to win on Sunday, it's for the number 1 contender spot on a pay-per-view. It is a bigger deal. No matter what, clean, dirty, no matter what, it's a bigger deal because of the stipulation and because of the setting.
I'll meet you halfway. Ricochet tries to cheat first, and Swerve gets him, and then does it to him, and that's how
we have established we love Swerve, and we love Swerve despite his bad tendencies. He is still Swerve. He's not a cookie cutter good guy, and that's great. Not every good guy needs to be. So I'm all for it. We have it agreeing with Maria from earlier that Nana is terrible. Are we not seeing something that other people are seeing?
I think a lot of people are just like, oh, well, obvious turn is obvious. And I'm like, I don't know. I mean, it's definitely possible, but I also don't know if, I mean, you're going to give Ricochet 3 wins over Swerve? I know you want to establish the dude, but wow, that'd be fast.
No, I agree. But I will say AEW has in the past shown they're not afraid to do that. That we were all in the initial original feud between Swerve and Hangman. We were all betting that Hangman was going to win the second matchup. That didn't happen. So there is nothing guaranteed. I can see them tripling down on Ricochet getting this win over Swerve to establish the star that is Ricochet.
Ricochet versus Jay White sounds pretty good.
Oh boy. Somewhere, Eric, producer boy, if you listen really carefully, is not giving a shit.
Isn't that usually what's going on? I don't think you have to listen that hard.
That's true.
I do like that this does leave it very open-ended. Theory of opposite momentum, but yeah, you make a good point. Maybe Nana turns, although I think I would find that very weird just because Nana has seemed very frustrated with Ricochet and the fact that he has stolen the robe. Now, maybe Nana kind of set it up that way, or maybe Nana,
and that's possible. That is a good, no pun intended, swerve.
Yeah. Or everything else has been acting, or maybe Nana has he decided to switch sides after Swerve allowed Ricochet to steal the robe in the first place, and everything else has been an act. So I guess it's there. It's possible you could write it, but I don't know. Nana must be a very good actor then, and people like him too. I don't know. I don't know if I want them to break up either, Swerve and Nana. They've been great together.
See, my thing is I'm of two minds on it, because I don't necessarily think when it comes to a wrestler-manager relationship, there needs to be some big payoff or some big blow-off. I think sometimes you could just have a wrestler be with a manager. It doesn't need to be a storyline. It could just be the package. Brock Lesnar and Paul Heyman was just the package for years and years.
Yep.
Obviously, that changed, obviously, with the Bloodline and Roman, but I didn't need
Punk in there too.
yeah, Punk in there too. But it fit. Brock is just Brock. Brock's his guy. Enough said. So I feel the same when it comes to Swerve and Nana, that I don't need there to be some moment. It could just be that their relationship sometimes has ups and downs. That said, too, maybe I'm contradicting myself a little bit here, and I don't mean to, but I do think we have hit in terms of, well, if there needs to be something, I don't know what else there is you can do with this pairing. You've done pretty much everything. There's been moments of doubt. There have been huge moments of support. They've been with each other through thick and thin, championships and losses and everything. So maybe there is a level of Swerve doesn't need Nana anymore. I really don't think he does.
No,
He
doesn't.
I think he's been well past needing Nana for a very long time. And Nana might actually benefit from being away from Swerve. Nana has always been a Team Rocket cartoon sidekick henchman. Of all the people in AEW right now that might benefit from having that, it could be Ricochet.
So I was actually going to say something like that, where Nana basically did his job. He helped Swerve get over. Let's not pretend the dance didn't help Swerve get over.
Oh, no, it absolutely did. Absolutely.
And the Swerve's house, and that got him over with the crowd, and along with, obviously, his tremendous performances in the ring. And you combine the two of those things, and you now have the bona fide superstar that is sort of Strickland. If you put Nana on the Ricochet, I think that could also help Ricochet. Because this character has been getting over, I think. Like, he got a lot of heat in that opening segment while he was talking. He gets borderline Dom Mysterio booed when he's on the mic.
Earned, by the way. He's earned it.
And so maybe Ricochet doesn't need the bump from Nana, but it can't hurt, especially in future feuds.
It's the same thing. Like, again, I just talked about Brock and Paul. At a certain point, does Brock need Paul? No. Did CM Punk ever need Paul to talk for him? No. But at the same time, it made it a better package. So
yeah, and they're I feel more like Punk and Paul are more like Nana and Swerve than Brock and Paul ever were, because Brock didn't speak. Punk and Paul were friends. That's really basically what it was, and Nana and Swerve are friends. So. He brings up a good point. Like, sometimes, people take out frustrations on the ones we love. And, with Ricochet ruining this jacket, apparently, this robe, by sending it to get altered, if Swerve doesn't come through, then maybe Nana, join. I don't know. Maybe he just beats the shit out of Swerve, or maybe just straight up leaves him. Yeah. And goes with somebody else completely. Yeah. So there's a lot of options. It doesn't even necessarily have to be a turn. It could just be abandoning.
You let me down, so I'm leaving you.
Yeah, exactly. So there's a lot of stuff that can happen with the end of this too. I'm looking forward to this match because their first one was really, really good. And anytime these two get together, you see the chemistry between them. I mean, hell, the hot tag, Ricochet tried to run out of the ring when he saw that Swerve got hot tagged in, and Swerve hunted him down, and they had some really good sequences there. So, it's going to be a really good match. This pay-per-view is stacked.
Oh, it really is. It's one of the most common things to say about AEW. Their pay-per-views, they are a pay-per-view delivering company. No matter what you might say about Dynamite or Collision or the company, very few people argue about how great their pay-per-views are. That said, this pay-per-view coming up feels like it's on another level.
I know, like, everyone gets really excited for, like, All In because that's the big show. Yeah. But Revolution is consistently the most stacked card and usually the best one they put on all year.
Was Revolution when Bryan and Cole debuted?
No, I think it was All Out. But I think the Hangman and Kenny versus the Bucks match was a Revolution match.
Okay.
So you can go back and look at the Revolutions year by year. They're nuts. I was fast forwarding through that one the other day because I wanted to watch the Hangman Bucks match.
Yeah.
And there was some matches on that card. I was like, holy shit, this was on that card. Like, holy shit, this was on that card. Like, it was crazy stuff that you just don't remember happening on these cards at Revolution, and you're like, oh yeah. So Revolution consistently is the strongest show they do every year. I don't know why. I guess everything really nicely lines up in March, but there you go. It's the luck of St. Patrick's month.
Can you guys stop? Can you guys stop poo-pooing my booking?
I'm not. I'm agreeing with you, or to an extent.
Really
But all right, yeah, that was Dynamite, James, and I thought this was a pretty good go-home show. I know AEW always doesn't have the best go-home shows because a lot of times they're trying to protect guys for the week after, or not even like the 4 days later. So most of the show was on this card, and I think they did a really good job of setting up for Revolution on Sunday. Although, as I was just saying, you didn't really need to do a lot. I'm already sold on this pay-per-view.
Yeah, absolutely. But hey, a good go-home show it's the cherry on top of a great build.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And again,
really
Tony
excited.
Storm and Mariah, bravissimo.
Bravissimo.
I want to spend the entire rest of the show talking about it because it even had some good comments about hoping a bloody high heel makes an appearance before the story ends again. And I was I'll do it very quickly. Very shocking this feud hasn't had a stipulation match.
I know, but I think it speaks to how good it's been that we don't need it.
Right? So I think my prop bet of the night might be ref bump, just so somebody could use the heel. I don't know if it'll end the match, but
all right,
that's going to be my prop of the night. I don't know if it's going to happen, but we'll see if they write it that way. It's really going to depend on who's booking it or producing it.
Yeah.
But all right, that was our show, everyone. So I'd like to thank everybody so much for watching us here at the Market Down Podcast. We'd appreciate it if you like to subscribe. If you like this episode, it lets us know that you're enjoying what we're doing, and we can continue to put out the content you guys are liking. And if you subscribe, you can continue to get all the content here on the channel. We have the Gym Pack Zone probably tomorrow night.
You're joining me.
Oh yeah, that's right. You're gonna have to remind me. James had partied too hard on his birthday last week, so we're gonna do his birthday Gym Pack tomorrow. And I actually watched it last week too.
There you go.
I actually kind of know what's going on.
We're gonna watch it again tomorrow.
Yeah. So come through for that tomorrow, guys. We will definitely be back here on Sunday after Revolution to cover that, and we are doing our best to cover the big happenings for Raw, SmackDown, and NXT when we can. And obviously, we will be back here every Wednesday for AEW Dynamite. You want to check us out on any of our social media platforms, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, Twitter, and Blue Sky, all in the description below if you're here on YouTube. And I fixed all the links. So you're welcome, everybody. Apparently, a bunch of them were broken. Who knew? But yeah, if you want to click on those links here on YouTube, you can. If you're over on Facebook or on Twitter, you want to follow us on some of the other stuff. Twitter is at marketdown_pod. Instagram is at marketdownpod. YouTube.com/marketdown3665. And Blue Sky is marketdown podcast at .bsky.social or whatever. Let's hit the comment before we go. Oh, it's saying you missed Dynamite tonight, but thanks for the play-by-play and commentary, fellas. Thank you, as always, for joining us. Shout out to Maria and JL for popping in, too. I haven't seen him in a while. It was nice to see him. James, any last comments before we get out of here?
Very excited for the show. Very excited for tomorrow. And I no promises, but I might be turning the coverage for the pay-per-view into a crossover episode. We might have a special guest joining us, so we'll see.
Oh, okay, cool. News to me. All right, thanks, Bojack, for that update. Mr. Peanut over here. All right, so for James Asante, my name is Nick Cummings. Thank you so much for watching us here at the Market Down Podcast. Have a good one, everyone.